Aloha, my friends and family. My name's Trey, and today I'm going to talk to you about our surrogate gods and the unveiling of actual divinity. The real tragic truth is that the majority of the human species would be like the victim of Hollywood or SRA abuse that was drugged into submission and then fully compliant to those who drug them. And that's the topic of today's video and the psychological shadow work that our species is going through on the whole globe, the unveiling of actual divinity. Who in the flunk do you think you are? Because we're living in a small world, just a small world. As wicked as you're sure you are. Can't you see this here is a small world, just a small world. So what you gonna do when you find that the devil's lies were never true? When Lucifer was only using you for you as an energy drink to steal it all, it's true. Because as wicked and sick as you think you're gonna make us all get, can't you just see this here is just a small world, just a small world. As in domination and dominion and manipulation and contrition and full of disgusting despotism and totalitarianism as you think you're gonna be. Can't you see this here is just a small world, just a small world. So what you gonna do when you figure out that Lucifer's lies were never true? Our surrogate gods and the unveiling of actual divinity. Well, the year 2024 is all about these topics if you're courageous enough to really look at what's happening. I was really going through it. I saved a tooth, but it kind of makes it sound like, or perhaps the same thing that spurred the pain to begin with. The rainmakers, our fake surrogate junior gods, might have, gotten something of the, of the spike protein style nanotech heavy metal spray. Might have initiated me to sound like I have a cold, We are born into a matrix system of financial, emotional, mental, and conceptual slavery. That's right. Even way too many of you call yourselves truthers or say you're enlightened or awakened, or still, whether it be to money, to the being possessed by other people, or the system that the religious structure you're in, still thinking these surrogates are going to help out. Also an emotionally retarded mental slave adult playpen to keep us tied into the cage. In other words, the whole social structure and financial structure of this planet was designed not only to keep us emotionally and spiritually retarded, as if you take a close look at the so-called lords and rulers of this planet, how spiritually and empathically stupid they are. But that you notice that the Archons, the Demiurge, the Rainmakers, Lucifer, they keep this planet designed to be a playpen for adult children. So that, when you're not being a financial slave for your box and feeding these vampires, when you get off work, your habits, your hobbies are going to be demonic. Your behavior is going to be psychological triangulation. You're going to be a fucking idiot who feeds the loosh until you wake up. And so that's why I say it's designed to be a playpen for emotionally retarded adult children slaves. Because you find an Illuminati or a person similar to that in every single clique who is there, who has been put there, actually often, orchestrated, quite, like I say, Quite masterfully, as Kurt Vonnegut Jr. said in the preface to Slaughterhouse-5, the powers of good can overturn the powers of evil if the powers of good can organize along the lines of the mafia, but we haven't. We're not. The dark side is the reptilian race and the Anunnaki were powerfully organized and amazingly talented at infiltration, okay? So that's why almost every clique, almost every social group has these angry people and these psychological 3-year-olds at the top, because that's the way that's how they keep us psychologically stuck. But the big boys themselves, the 1% criminal robber barons and the gang leaders they put in charge or put up to CEO levels of these corporations and the Fortune 500, are always captured by the Luciferic voices and their filthy, overblown egos, which is how the Council on Foreign Relations was a pivotal and key thing in locking down the world in 2020. They used hundreds of CEOs of corporations and government and medical officials in high places that were all in this certain club to all agree upon what they were going to do. So don't underestimate the power of the CFR and the organization and what occurred, okay? Constantly, the big boys are constantly manipulated into becoming increasingly psychopathic tyrants, dictator, war pushers, and monopolists. Don't ever question the fact that the more of a greed-centric person they are, the more devoid of any sense of morality, the more of a person with severe NPD, psychopathy they are, the complete disconnection they are from their actual human reality, the actual plan of the real creator that came before all of this. They're completely cut off. The 1% they're cut off from their heart and from the divine creator. They feel like it all has to come from stealing. They're the most brainwashed and the most psychologically destroyed and distorted out of all of us. So don't you ever think that they don't suffer tremendous pain and cognitive dissonance, because that's how the whole thing is built up. So, two of the factors. So these monopolists, fully devoted to their anti-life, evil ET masters, they, again, the dark ETs are very, very good at organization. The more we learn, the further down the rabbit hole one goes. The more obvious it becomes the agreed upon consensus, so-called democratic or democratic reality, is an ugly imitation. In the old Gnostic scriptures, it said that the Demiurge created this world and what we call culture or business or government as a copy. But you see, he didn't have soul. He only had the ability to work really hard in physical 3D and build things. So the Demiurge is a morally retarded, spiritually incompetent surrogate. And how did this person, this being, running with this other stupid junior god named Mammon with huge muscles and no head, how did they get the powers to do all of what they did? Well, because, again, the Draco-Reptilians and the Anunnaki and other dark ET races had extremely high intellect, also mostly completely divorced or devoid of soul or heart awareness. And the human heart, as I've said, puts off like 7,000 times. I got to get the facts straight on that again, but tremendous amount more energy than the human brain. And so these beings, since they can't actually feel their own hearts, it's through manipulating us into giving them our essence or our heart energy, our soul energy, that all of that they are able to keep the damn evil, sick siphoning system going. And through this perhaps engineered blood disease to prevent me from participating in the awakening, or could have been a consequence of the rampant antibiotics use. But the whole point is that I just remember in the year 2020 when I looked on the ground, I would see 3 stop signs that said 6 almost every single time, invariably 3. When I'd read 6, 6, 6. Now, why did they have to do that? Again, it's just like Gargamel and the Smurfs. Bill Gates reminds me of Gargamel in his 2010 TED Talk. He tells you, he tells you his intentions on the side of his mouth while he's acting very altruistic. Well, Gargamel was, he'd give a clue to how to defeat him within his rambling shit talking about how he was going to kill the Smurfs. Well, it's the same principle here. Why? Because again, even Bill Gates, the divine spark of the Almighty Christ, is in every being that can walk in the mortal form on this in a bodily form on this planet, even if it was, say, 10% human. So there's the spark of awareness that, again, this has all been programmed out of most of these people, so that I really feel that Bill Gates is actually a slave. I don't think he can make any of his own decisions. I would like to be proven wrong on that, but if he ever makes a decision that doesn't cause someone else a harmful side effect, even if we include a faulty processor or software from Microsoft, I'm saying since he quit Microsoft, everything as a result of being in the club at that level, everything, just like Anthony Fauci being paid $450,000 a year to do what he did, you can't get that high up in the pyramid without being committed to doing, are Bill Gates' farms all organic? Well, you see, you've got to be committed to side effects, shall we say, to be put it very mildly, or else you will not be promoted to that level. You do not get to be that financially rolling without doing things that are going to be destructive. Okay, it's been proven. And the idea that anyone would want to be a billionaire, to me, is like the most pathologically stupid thing there is. Like, any of you that want to be a billionaire, I think you're a fucking idiot, almost as bad as them. Because why would you even want that? Because the point is that control over others is just hideously anti-life oriented, frankly. Okay? The Demiurge is a morally retarded, spiritually incompetent surrogate that controls religions and government and secret societies and scientism, an imposter god. Lucifer is a black hole promoting, in other words, he wants us all going down that black hole. A black hole promoting predator entity with an almost endless supply of humans, land, resources, and money, and mind control mastery if he can terrify us into getting stuck in our bodies. And this is why learning to do astral projection or remote viewing or Kriya Yoga may be some of the keys that we need to learn to defeat the forced reincarnation process after death, at the very least, to not go back through this shit filth process of memory wipe again from these fake ass surrogates that have no respect for us, but to have the courage. I'm not even saying that I'm there, but at least I'm open to the possibility that I can, forgive myself for all the ways that I fell prey as a pseudo or even actual victim to these surrogate demons that were pretending to be altruistic. And it takes a lot of shadow and spiritual work to do that. But freedom in bodily incarnation and afterlife is where we're headed if we have the courage again. So. But you have to understand that Lucifer, being so talented at materialism, and mind control and torture, that their people, they got all these resources, but yet without any real heart. They don't know. When you think about the people who took every single booster, did they act different? Well, don't put a comment on this video because it'll get scrubbed off. When I hit 100 subscribers recently, YouTube put a note on my cell phone. It said, "Congratulations, you have 100 subscribers. You got 159 comments, but we only let you read 9 of them," or whatever. Something like around in that neighborhood. So again, they had to rub it in and brag. You were working with roughly 150 CIA middlemen, censors, and I use that number, of course, because that's my birthday number and because that's the number, the figure that my friend Keith McHenry gave me. And he comes from a CIA family, and he was one of the founders of Food Not Bombs. So it's very interesting. So you might ask yourself, if they don't have any heart, how are they able to do all this? Well, that's how powerful mind control can be, and terrorizing people with killing and adrenochrome and SRA and all that, and endless wars. And this is why all popular artists must be demonic. They must promote Luciferianism or Satanism in their music, or be moral retards or idiots, narcissistic personality disorder, NPE controlled thugs of fuckery. Because if they're not, if they don't, even if they make beautiful music, if they don't come out with a song like "A Friend of the Devil is a Friend of Mine," then, they would be shadow banned if they're on YouTube, if they got popular. But in the music world, they're not going to, they're not going to get many gigs or whatever. There's a limit, a great limit to what you can accomplish. If you're not going to sign over your life to the Rainmaker, but if you sign over your life to the Rainmaker, you have no freedom of speech, or very little. I mean, think about this. Every awesome rock star and pop star that I loved, that was able to shed light on the truth in the 1960s and 1970s in their lyrics, they had to be very cryptic. Crosby, Stills and Nash, Pink Floyd, Sly Stone. I mean, they said a lot of wonderful everyday truths. I'm everyday people, but welcome my son to the machine. But they had to be very, very cryptic. And so it's possible, but I could list those artists on one hand, just like I could list the politicians who gave a fuck about freedom and are willing to die for freedom for real on one hand, but they exist. So I'm thankful for those handful of rock stars. I mean, Pink Floyd, how did they... I'm telling you, man, the fucking fake ass illness is trying to get in once again. So how did Pink Floyd do it? Well, they were pretty genius poets, pops, songsmiths. So again, they were able to be cryptic about it. Whereas when I made videos here telling the explicit truth, of course they got deleted, or I even got punished a few times. But as one learns how talented and all-encompassing and all-pervasive our junior god imposter's attempted permanent mind control, memory wipe, Saturn moon matrix, human enslavement system actually is, you really realize the extent of the powerful psychological war we're all in right now, and that you and I, we're all going to have to change and heal. Unless you're one of the very few that's some kind of bodhisattva. Then once we realize how powerful and pervasive it is, then we begin to notice conformity, if you haven't already noticed it, is so often soulless automatons, like cookie cutter. Like, have you noticed how people that are conservative don't exercise any creativity? One of those Aboriginal 10 Commandments, they're not allowed to exercise it at all, not even in a slightly studentish way like me, or amateur style way like I do. I mean, they can't really express their creativity at all. So that's how it's easy to tell when you look at it that the dark side is very much involved in the control of the AI now, but it's always been, ever since the black cube tech of Mecca, and the Demiurge and the rent, and that hexagram was put on Saturn ever since it began. It was gadgetry, it was artificial, And it was through theft and terrorizing with war that the dark got all of their powers, all of it. And again, through being a brilliant mind control force, the Wetiko, the Archons, or the Demiurge, or whatever name you want to put on it, was able to garnish this, was able to collect this much energy through its sickness. Yet in the real age of light, the fake light bearer is being more fully exposed as a total genocidal imposter that he actually is. This species-wide shadow work is often massively painful. I mean, just look at Crux TV on YouTube. I mean, we're going through a planetary-wide recapitulation or reclamation of soul and an attempt on the part of the respectful beings in humanity who have any amount of courage or power of their own to peacefully confront these filthy demons who say they're our gods and say, no, we're not going to run your wars. It's happening in Israel. No, we're not going to run your wars. We're over it. We've been running your wars in that nation for, 80 years. We've been running your wars in that region, for, thousands of years. We're done. So, like the inverted concept of the wrath of God, is plainly staring us in the face. It's a fake-ass concept. And that's why YouTube originally shadow banned me, because I'm pointing out the blatantly obvious in the Yahweh video. And so, and what will be hopefully the mostly psychological work of World War III. We hope. We like to ideally do the shadow work so that it's only a psychological battle. Mostly. They're going to inflict more violence on us. They're going to burn down more towns with direct energy weapons and floods. But we can be prepared for this, strategically knowing which towns they are. We have some clue as to which towns they are already, and get prepared. So the dark side's attempted take all plan. Now it is obvious that Neil Mohan is scared of people like me, or he would not have deleted hundreds of thousands of videos in the last several years that did a good job of questioning the Matrix narrative. Well, me, since I'm from the Freemason family and I'm disabled and messed up, they can just hide my videos. But if I was really successful at this telling the truth, sharing the truth, volunteer thing, then I would have to be deleted too. So it's like financial dependency. Instead of giving you the carrot and the stick, they give you the threat and they hand you the reward. So this has made me led me to my thinking that oftentimes, probably the majority, small channels are better, because you can almost see it in their face oftentimes when these brilliant writers, storytellers, famous speakers, comedians, truthers that are gatekeepers and comedians like Russell Brand or Jimmy Dore, they do a great job, but they have to keep it on a certain level. So actually I think Jimmy Dore is one of the best, but the majority of them, they really self-censor so well that you can see a consternation when they wish they could tell you more. Neil Mohan obviously is all about compliance with the big tech, scientism, information control, or what I would say is the death grip of the M's, if you catch my drift, if you know what I mean. How many had to die or have their body... Oh. My bad, I'm getting dangerous here. How many had to die or get their body destroyed due to the withholding of life-saving information on these platforms that were censored by the government agencies that work there? I can't get into my X account right now unless I make a new password, because they, even the teeny tiny little bit of subversive activity I was doing on X that they couldn't stop Or maybe one of my videos got leaked out and actually got shared with more than 7 people. Now I can't get in. Is that a coinkydink? Well, I'm not saying I know that for certain, but I wouldn't be surprised when it tells me you have 95 notifications. So we do need, as I said, there's no learning in heaven, and we do need adversity to expand, but not to get stuck forever in this terribly tragic, disgusting cycle of prison planetary hell memory wipe system of sucking our energy for millions of years. That's not why the Draco Reptilians and the Anunnaki and the other evil ETs got to exist. It's for contrast. It's for soul growth. War or disease, harm, suffering, killing, being killed. It's to quicken your soul growth. It's not that these forces are here to rule over us. However, if they've been ruled over us through these games for and blood drinking rituals and wars for thousands of years, it's going to take a lot of courage and soul work with spiritual self-help. It's going to take hundreds more videos like this to sink it in, probably. Okay, and on that tip, I have to say, I'm going to have to take some days off and quit the cell phone, because I tend to scroll and let the CIA YouTube employees choose, and I watch all the new videos from 72 subscriptions, and basically what I'm saying is that YouTube addiction is a thing, and if you're watching this video because you're a YouTube addict and that's the only reason why you're watching it, just turn it off right now. YouTube addiction can lower the quality of your learning and awareness. Like, if you don't stop, I mean, I've gotten bad, dude. Like 10, 12, 14 hours of trying to learn on YouTube, that's too much. So it's too much of a good thing. The CIA, the algorithm beast, tries to, whatever you like, they try to give you as many, almost infinite videos about whatever it is you like. So it's the wonderful, as I call it, the drug of the age of Aquarius is wisdom, learning, knowledge. So again, the dark side with their invisible control mechanisms, they want to use it against you by making you stuck online, stuck on learning, stuck on the first grade. If you use Google, YouTube as a search engine, however, or to do a deep dive, as they call it, on a particular topic, then it can be invaluable. My brother taught himself how to fix small appliances with YouTube videos and Facebook feeds. So you could learn. I mean, there's a possibility you could learn a trade. You could learn something, a way to completely take care of yourself if you're a very self-disciplined student. A self-motivated person. So YouTube can be an invaluable resource, at least if it is an uncensored topic. Yet I feel I've fallen into a subtly nasty addiction when I scroll YouTube on my microwave cell phone, when procrastinating. It's more than subtly. My illness, my physical illness, love these fucking microwave phones too, and this 5G. When procrastinating, distracting yourself, or learning crappy quality of information, like I go by this, like what is the quality of their information? It doesn't matter if they have millions of subscribers. Like, after school, they self-censor, but he tells you a lot of ideas that expand your mind, and it's a unique format that's easy to follow because he's drawing cartoons. So there's a handful of channels with millions of subscribers that I like, but they're mostly garbage, and there's a reason for that. Because the dark ones that are in control of most media want you to distract yourself, or learn crappy quality information, or glean bad vibes. It is important to turn the device off. Okay? The value of the devil is really to make you stronger. Yet they must make you weak for their own agenda. So it is not to obey Lucifer or obey the Black Sun, obey the Anunnaki, obey the Elohim. No, it is to recognize the adversary exists to give you strength. And it is just like the motherfucking cliche, if the dark side doesn't kill you, it does make you stronger. Well, that cliche is true when it comes to the imposter, Demiurgic Jr. God, surrogate gods. Okay? So, when you use technology without using it strictly intentionally, this has led to tremendous harm to humans in the last 20 years since we've had these gadgets, okay? So if you use your cell phone, particularly your computer, intentionally, it's huge difference. Now, my friend Alex is addicted to asking Alexa things, so he might just 20, 50 times all day ask Alexa things on his cell phone. Now, that can become harmful at a point, but think about all the things he's learning. So it's a dual-edged sword, as I've said, this 5G in this forest here. I don't want microwaves on me all the time, and I don't want this, But on the other hand, it's an amazing gift. So use it with self-respect. Use it with discernment. Use the gift of technology with discipline. Okay? If not, it easily takes over most of our day and feeds us a lot of fear-based, bloody control narratives. Controlled opposition agents and military guy podcast. And they want you to think this military guy is smart or aware. Bullshit. He's telling you to get your guns and get ready to harm other people, and he's so aware. In short, letting the CIA choose your content consumption can actually be a wonderful way to learn, but more than likely will steer your soul into the corral for subversive goyim, if you're watching my video to 30 minutes, to go where we want, to put the subversive cattle where we want them to go. As my Yahweh video was shadow banned, I quickly realized Google, CIA, YouTube, like it's 1% criminal robber baron masters who control the narratives on certain topics, are like a modern, watered-down surrogate AI god theirself. I mean, my God. I mean, my codependent and my co-creative and my wonderful and horrible and benevolent and retarded friends and co-workers, look at the resource they provide. It's amazing. They're like an AI god theirself, like if Yahweh were a video series, a video service. The controls are often similar. Like, look at all the work I did that was hidden and not rewarded. Well, there's a reason. Because I was going against what God wanted. On YouTube, you can learn and open your mind, but only an inch or two in the direction, say, Jordan Peterson says. Open your mind just to feed your energy back into the patriarchal slave matrix. I don't know your best choice. No matter what Neil Mohan says, I'm not qualified to give anyone advice because I never walked a mile in your shoes. Okay? But I can give you some tips on how to awaken. I can tell you what I've learned. That certain video, whatever video you're watching, if it's not the 100% or 96% proper video for you, or if it's not meant to be in your learning repertoire or your awareness expansion, then you will feel a little bit of cognitive dissonance. You will feel like, maybe this microwaving is taking too much of a dominance because you're not going to pay attention to it. And this is why, or one of the reasons why, being compelling or sexy looking is a very, good way to get information across, and why, a guy as a hermit in a tent can easily get ignored. So, that certain video might be the perfect medicine for the presenter, the person who's making the video, yet marginally good for you. Just as if Christos were a personal Archon for each of us. You know, the God in the Truman Show. We are all manipulated constantly, just like that. It's very much like the Truman Show. I think is a very good documentary, tragically, for a lot of us. At least if you're in a town where no one else is awake, or a neighborhood like I'm in here where there's very little awakening souls. We're all manipulated constantly, as if, you know, the guy, the Christos character in that movie was a little personal Archon for each of us. If we allow it. That's the key. That's where the discipline and the shadow work comes in. We have to notice in the moment of trauma and drama, when we're getting upset, about to cuss, raise our voice, or flip out, or control someone, or be controlled by someone. It's not us. It's not our job. It's not our job to be idiots. It's our job to awaken from being idiots and be respectful. We are all, we are all manipulated constantly, if we allow it, by our fake-ass surrogate gods until we wake up. I was lulled into sleep around the basic 3D system, capitalistic survival. I was out here in California feeling stuck in capitalistic survival, collecting cans for my income. I was spiritually waking up, also with several chronic deadly diseases. So the system of the Matrix told me, you are sick, you are a mental disease, and that physical manifestation means that you are that disease, and you are that mental illness, and you should be financially dependent the rest of your life. Then and then you can heal it and become a shaman. Because I told the government psychiatrist, I believe that the body can heal itself if given a chance. And I just rescued this half dead tooth night before last. It was extremely painful, and so I've really been going through that process lately. But what does acceptance of any surrogacy do to our souls? What did it do to my soul? Horrible, horrible things, because I decided before I got this body that I was going to, reclaim sovereignty on every level and every chakra and every facet of life in this lifetime. And so it was like getting stuck in school, repeating a grade in school, or repeating a lifetime. And that's one of the selfish reasons why I make these videos, because I refuse to, even though I'm not 100% out of the weeds and the troubles of my illness, and doing my shadow work and becoming fully independent or co-interdependent with respectful beings. It's but on the other hand, I realized that I have had several deadly illnesses that have killed most people who got them, and very quickly. And so I'm thankful for the opportunity, frankly, to have this role. I did not want to be a slave anyway. So anyone who thinks I'm a vampire or a moocher, you're a fucking idiot and you don't know me. But, there's been those moments, I won't lie. They tried to push me into the role of the narcissistic predator, or person with NPD, codependent, person with solipsism, and person with borderline personality. But, none of those things really were able to root in me fully because of my awareness of the Christ. That's the key. If you really have a real, actual awareness of the oneness in all beings, then the motherfuckers can't ruin your life completely. Because if you really realize that karma is real, and the golden rule of the Bible is a watered down version, but if you harm someone else, you are harming yourself, then these stupid motherfuckers aren't going to get you to do much harm. I mean, stupid motherfuckers, I say, when in regard to morality. They're stupid motherfuckers with regard to karma and morality. So I also had a supposedly born-again friend who wanted to take care of me. I met about 10 years ago or so, or a couple, 12 years ago. And they wanted to take care of me, do everything for me, feed me, give me a little work trade. They would even buy me motel rooms a few times out of compassion, like when it was a heavy rainstorm. Yet,
I was a monk in a past life, always allowing others to choose for me, stuck in religious hierarchy and dogma. So in this life, this person trying to help me, there was, being supposedly born again in the church, in the patriarchy, they reeked of this ugly stench of, let me reach down to help you out of hell, but it's only going to work if you get the dogma of the church and you get as afraid as I am. It's like, no, that's why you don't get in touch with me. And so, yeah, I was always a monk in a past life, always allowing others to choose for me, stuck in religious hierarchy and dogma. So in this life, it was one of my missions, it is essential that I take care of myself and others to the best I can. And so I really am thankful to Neil Mohan and YouTube and Chris Plavatsky and Rumble and Odyssey.com and Jeremy Kaufman and all of the people that work with them for helping me to share the message of the Christ, the real Christ, and begin to turn it around from the codependency and the beast that through having several extremely deadly, tragic illnesses. They tried to, they had to beg me for 3 years before I went in for the interview, but as a 26-year-old, I didn't really feel like I was worthy. I was ready. I didn't really have the courage or shamanic power to face it alone. So I can, even with an extremely wounded chironic body, or a wounded healer body here on my astrological chiron line, still help other people as physically in a physically wounded state. Some 3D idiots and spiritual capitalists think I gave up. However, it's really a UTAT till it's only us, till there is no them. Help and helped. What's the difference between help and helped? They had to try to co-opt, adapt, and crush my independence in any way possible. You see, on the West Coast, learned helplessness is spread all around as much as possible. Indigo Angel says they harvest the indigo souls here, and the star seeds is far, vastly more, like thousands of souls, more than any other state, because of the inverted Luciferian indoctrination and the forced isolation of the fake-ass, so-called cost of living, forcing people like myself coming out here to live out their dreams, to perceive the world as a lonely place, perceive the world as a dog-eat-dog place. Because no matter how enlightened they are, no matter how adamant they are to live out their dreams, if they don't have a fairly somewhat clean slate, if they hadn't done the psychological shadow work, all they're going to see is their wounds. So, the truth is that the dark side, they don't want anybody sharing awareness. The dark side's tactics, and they run the media, the dark side's tactics are obvious as you discern the pattern. Just like any hologram, you discern the pattern, and it's obvious. Okay? So, Sam Vaknin is not an authority on the real you. He may be an authority on the false version. Maybe the false version, He can tell you the pathology. He can describe the pathology, right? But he doesn't know the real you. If you're a harmless, respectful being, it could be anything. Jordan Peterson can only encourage you to be an open-minded patriarch, an open-minded part of the patriarchy, the Judeo-Christian patriarchal financial religious structures of the world. I can only share the wisdom I have received from the outside of the box, for beyond becoming a one-man band and using the system to learn to be a healer. Aside from these videos, the CIA shamefully hides all the financial slavery Matrix seems to teach is how to be a good box slave. Aside from all of my videos that are shadow banned, the majority of what video content you'll find on YouTube. Although there are some that will give you hints on how to wake up out of it and to be a good double agent, a double-edged sword like 5G. The YouTube does a great job on both sides, but they won't give you the really empowering wisdom very often. But they give you a lot of videos in the obedient narrative. How to be a good, all the financial slavery matrix or the system will teach us how to be a good box slave, how to exploit par excellence. There is no passive income that doesn't come without a price. Work always has a cost and a payoff. Everything we do, every action. The cost of this volunteer service of almost 500 videos of mostly wisdom is moments, calories, efforts, days, mornings or afternoons of work, labor of love, microwaving, and efforts. The payoff is if you learn to discern. The payoff is if you learn something from this. Then I get paid. It is an unfathomably humbling, awesome experience. A troubling bull in a china shop. When you seem to be a troubling bull in a china shop, you will seem to be, or you will feel like, when you realize free will was and will become once again the reality. Because many of you, including myself, are often or sometimes still in relationships with people with horrible NPD or NPE infested predators, psychopaths, where you have to walk on eggshells. So that's the china shop. The fabric of the matrix is so fragile, yet so pathologically sick and disgusting. You want to smash it up, but you know that if you harm others, you harm yourself. So it's a pretty good analogy. But the Demiurge's copy we call the surrogate reality is a big human recycling farm. With the courage to slough off these old robes of lies, deceit, like the snake skins they are, through the intense shadow work and ultimately, physical work, we can each learn to see through the loose drip, soul-sucking financial slavery matrix. And notice, it is obviously a hologramic simulation, since our divine, sacred Creator actually gave us all free will if we're peaceful. This matrix is a democratic, fear-based inversion of the actual reality. See 2020 as Lucifer forcing you to see him as ugly, finally. A good reframing of that is that is when those of you who had discernment, if you didn't already do it, were able to see these beautiful, plastic, fantastic, fiat, paper-thin, fake, black magic and fear-based realities to be what they really are. Finally, for the real reality is truly experienced from the respectful actual divine being who actually gave us free will. And in Paul Levy's books about the Wetiko, he claims that it can be our greatest spiritual catalyst. Again, as what happened 4 years ago, that by the most beautiful angel of all, who got kicked out and did take over a lot of the world psychologically, showing how he was really pathologically ugly, abusive, and totally devoid of empathy, and didn't give a fuck about anyone, including himself, because he has given himself over to the black hole. It really, it helps millions of people to awaken, to slap themselves out of their Stockholm Syndrome or their Pollyanna or their see no evil mentality that they had around these topics. Even me, I never wanted to face the disclosure issue until this shit happened. But it was when I had my accident that I really began to decide that I really need to become really open about what's really happening. Being in the ER for 5 days, so. For the real reality is truly experienced from the respectful, actually divine being who actually gave us free will, Christ Sophia, in our hearts, waking up the harmless gods in us. That's what it's all about. That's what Ascension's all about. And as this happens to the majority, we can finally kiss hell on earth goodbye. Forever. Facing these truths is a huge responsibility. I'm not gonna lie, and that's not exaggeration. It's a huge responsibility. We were taught that we should be soldiers or narcissistic idiots or disabled people who don't participate for a very long duration, many lifetimes. We were conditioned. We were chained up. There's more slavery now, child sex slaves and 6-year-olds that work in a factory, than there ever has been before if you include financial wage slavery in this country. Okay? But this shit filth reality is coming to an end soon in a theater, in a brain, in a mind near you. And maybe it's already ended in yours if you're smart. Maybe you see that it is a surrogate, false reality that Demiurge cannot create. Facing these truths is a huge responsibility that can ultimately actually bypass death. You learn to be bilocational. You can still help people after you leave the body. As it is the real truth that the divinity is in all beings. Christ Sophia is in there. Surrogates can only be shallow, faulty, self-serving, or full of holes, because surrogate gods are not the original creator. I may not know the best choice for you. I've never walked a mile in your shoes. I don't know all the factors in your situation. I have no authority to give anyone advice. But if you ask me a question, I'll be glad to help, and I'll be glad and happy to get any comments I get, even if they're negative, beside troll things. And I'm certainly glad to help and serve the truth to you and serve my perception of awareness to you. And nobody can see, nobody really has eyes in the back of their head, although we all have the sense of being stared at when we tune it in. Nobody knows the whole picture. Nobody knows what really happened in the past 100% or what's going to happen in the future. As creator beings, as junior gods ourselves, we do that. We create the future right now through our actions that we take. Okay? I'm not your surrogate, your guru, or your martyr. I'm just here to bring truths and reminders and some music. And always, waking up is an inside job, as I always say. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't clicked already, click subscribe, the notification bell for more. And if you want to go deeper down the dark rabbit hole, follow me on Odyssey, ODYSEE.com. or rumble.com. And once again, on this beautiful Sunday evening, or whatever day it is in the day of the strong in your calendar, wherever you are on planet Earth, if you have the courage, create a great one, my family.